And I was muted that whole time. Hi guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. I hope you understand how mute buttons work. We are in May 31st, part 2. There's 3 parts to May 31st. We might get through both of them today, because we're at 1.25 speed. And then we start June, and June is when the magic happens. June is when the defense comes, which is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I just can't wait. Here we go. Lies, lies, lies. I pulled a bill.
Particularly one of scope.
It's one of scope, and it's also
Now?
the additional one that we
Now
raised
should be
before
fine, I think.
with respect to
I got one more
trying
button.
to use this witness to bolster
To try, if that doesn't
in
work.
fact, to redirect Mr. Yamauchi on points that were made with Mr. Yamauchi's cross-examination.
So redirect Sims regarding
What you didn't hear was Harmon saying he has 30 more minutes, which is a freaking lie.
It's Mr. Sims testified in direct examination quite extensively about his examination of the socks and how difficult it was to see them. Then we saw the exciting video of those socks. Mr. Sims was cross-examined by Mr. Scheck about his examination of those socks. I mean, it seems like a whole lifetime ago that happened, so and sometimes I try to block these things out, but I do recall that. What I want him to do, and I think the objection is silly, and it really exalts form over substance, because at the sidebar, I commented, not facetiously, that that's fine. If we're going to exalt form over substance, then I won't do it on redirect, and he'll just stay here whenever Barry's done the cross-examination, and I'll recall him on it. So we have a right to address it, and
That wasn't my cell phone. Someone's cell phone went off.
we have a right to address it, and I'd hope for once we won't exalt form over substance and let us address it while he's on the stand now. I believe it's within the scope of the redirect examination. And I think what you need to appreciate, Your Honor, because if that's the only objection, you either agree with me or you don't, and I'd just like you to know that I will call Mr. Sims whenever he is done with whatever is appropriate in this scheme of things. We do have time before Mr. Kelberg starts on Friday, so we'll be happy to do it whichever way the court chooses, but I don't believe it's beyond the scope of the cross-examination. If you'd like me to get to the substance of the proposed testimony, I'd be happy to do that too.
Make me an offer.
Sure. The offer of proof is that Mr. Sims testified in great detail about his examination of the socks. If the court had requested that I provide notes. It's not written up in the report, because it's not a reportable event, as a lot of things are not in the final report. The page 117 is a sketch of the socks. And I'm sure you have as much trouble as I do reading Mr. Sims's handwriting, but you can see where he's designated stains that he did typing. And I think I need to couch this in the context of the court's previous rulings on phenolphthalein. It is my understanding that the court ruled that a presumptive test, and in that context it was phenolphthalein alone, would not be, presumptive positive, would not be allowed. And at the point when those discussions took place, we were talking about a single stain and a single spot. And we weren't talking about a blood-spattered item like sock B. 13B is. We were talking about, as I recall, single items where no further testing of those items, because they were single items, existed. And I think, to me, that's a major distinction, because that wasn't before the court at the time. This sock had, the area in question that Mr. Sims, and it's the only one that we want the jury to look at. If you look towards the rear above the ankle of the sock there's a designation of 42B1. Mr. Sims did these orthotolidine presumptive tests in numerous places on both sides of the socks, focusing on sock B, which is the only sock that we're interested in showing to the jury at this point. Mr. Sims tested 4 areas on the opposite side of the sock that's shown on 117, where he did orthotolidine and did not sample and do further testing. I just say that for background. So there's 4 presumptive positive areas on the flip side of the picture that you see on page 117. That's not what we want to show the jury, Your Honor, but that's background information. On the side that's shown on page 117, there are 3 areas where Mr. Sims did the presumptive positive test, orthotolidine, and no typing was done. We only want the jury to focus on the stain that you see below 42B1. Mr. Sims represents to me that that's approximately 1 centimeter away from the stain that was typed. Now, I know what Mr. Scheck is going to say, and I know what you're thinking about this, Your Honor, but rather than debate
And what is that?
the previous ruling, well, this could be a
What
different
am I
stain, or this
thinking?
might not be blood. And by the court's earlier ruling, you've put us in this catch-22 that the only time we could use a presumptive positive test result is when we have then gone on and tested that precise sample to do further confirmatory testing. And the only problem with that is, while that may be safe, that's the time that we could care less about a presumptive positive test, because all of these tests that we do are human-specific. So we prove by the actual testing or typing results that this is human blood. I think the court needs to view this circumstantially and say, is there some confidence that this sock, which has 7 as yet untested areas that all give positive presumptive results, that also has 3 other areas that have been tested and proven to be consistent with persons involved in this case, is there any reason to exclude this presumptive test? Because we want the jury to see that spot where he did the orthotolidine, because you can see it. You can see it today. They couldn't see it yesterday, but it's here, and they can see all the other spots too.
In other words, you're saying that once we isolate that location, you're going to have Mr. Sims testify that he did a presumptive test, got a positive, and that if you look at that same exact spot under the stereo microscope, that you'll see reddish crystalline objects consistent with being blood. Is that what you're saying?
I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but words to that effect, Your Honor. Yes, that's it.
Let's see the microscope.
Assist here.
Does this
No,
does this need an external
No.
light source?
if we have another sketch, I'm
My-
going to lose
my,
it. I'm going to lose it.
I don't know quite how to respond to this for a few reasons, and my suggestion is that if Mr. Harmon wants to put on this testimony and essentially
I hope they do a dog or a cat. I hope they sketch the dog that kept barking. Can you please sketch the dog and then put it right up next to the gloves? Oh, no, I won't be able to handle that.
talk about new examinations and test results with respect to the sock, the phenolphthalein, and the new observations by Mr. Sims that are not recorded in his notes. I don't know, under the circumstances, whether we would object on the usual grounds that it's just a presumptive test. I don't know, and the reason I don't know is that Dr. Lee has examined these socks, as the court knows, and I would want an opportunity to consult with him about what this means in the context of these socks, certainly before there's cross-examination about what would be new matter. And I'm not even sure that I would necessarily object to the presumptive test. I don't know until I consult with him in the overall scheme of things with respect to the sock. But it seems to me that this goes way beyond anything I discussed in cross-examination. It goes into the whole area of presumptive testing. And I would take it that Mr. Englert's going to testify in this case for the prosecution, a crime scene reconstruction person who's going to be discussing the sock and the rest of it, and all this information goes to that. So I'm not in no position to evaluate it now, and it seems to me that it's inappropriate all of a sudden on the redirect examination to bring all this new matter in, new observations, new test results, some of which are presumptive tests, really are presumptive tests, which the court has previously made a ruling on. I can't even assess it, much less cross-examine on it. So it would be my position that he should call him at another time if he wants to introduce this. And in fact, I could even make it easier, because if I get an understanding, and it's a little unclear to me exactly what it is, but if we can get an understanding as what it is he's observed, where he's observed it, what his test results are, and I can consult with my experts, I may not have that presumptive objection. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but I may not. So I can't assess this, and it's unfair to raise this now on redirect. I really can't assess it.
All right, Mr. Harmon, do you have the item available to examine?
Sure, we do. Can I just respond? There's nothing new. These are observations that he's made. He examined these socks with a stereo microscope before. When you look at it again, I guess you could call it new, but you're looking at the old thing anew. And while he's not prepared, that sounds like a sad reflection on the fact that they don't want this to come out. And I don't blame them for not wanting it to come out, Your Honor, but it's either within the scope or it's not. And if it's not, Mr. Sims will be happy to stay here and recall him as soon as he leaves the seat. And that's not going to preclude us from the reality in those socks being shown to the jury for the first time. It shouldn't be allowed, Your Honor. And his lack of preparation, while that may be a sad commentary, I don't think it's a sincere commentary.
I don't think you should comment on the lack of preparation about any counsel involved here.
Those were his words, Your Honor.
Well, that's assuming that some of this testing is new.
Well,
Mr. Sims, would you set up the microscope so I can look at this sock and see what's there? We need another box of large. Right. Yeah, what you mean the box?
Aren't they supposed to be putting this all in the record? I am opening this piece of evidence. I am taking it out of this thing. I am blah, 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 blah. Oh no, he didn't change gloves after touching the plastic, and then touching the paper bag, and then touching the envelope, and then touching the microscope. Oh no, there's scissors right there. You're not allowed to have scissors in a courtroom. That's a weapon. You better change your gloves, sir. Actually, everybody in the gallery should be changing their gloves right now. I can't tell from behind, but that's Sims, right? That's our little puppy dog working.
located the stain that we've
All right.
alluded to that's on page 117.
Mr. Scheck, you want to take a look?
Yeah, that's him. I can tell how excited he is just standing there. Check. Change the gloves on your eyeballs before you
How
touch
much
that.
adjustment of that is necessary for individuals to look at it? The main knob? Or is there a fine tuning?
Why are we letting a lawyer look through a microscope? Come on, they don't know this. They don't know this.
Mr. Darden?
Hi, Terry. Have a good day at church.
Mr. Blazier?
OJ next.
All right, Mr. Bancroft, would you go to the seal, please? No photography, please.
Where'd the judge go? Where'd the judge go? He told him to go to the seal. Go to the seal, please. Well, he's there for a while.
Direct examination, part 2. And I haven't heard a legal objection. Mr. Scheck and I discussed, and he was not aware that these are not new tests. Nothing new has been done. This is all old stuff that's in the lab notes that were turned over in the first report, I believe, in January.
Right,
So
and the lab note that you have that you've shown to the court has a date of November 94.
yes, Your Honor.
My confusion only was that there was mention of, with Mr. Yamauchi, of other new tests being done in unnamed areas with Mr. Matheson and/or Mr. Sims. I don't know how that relates to any of this, and maybe they can inform us.
But the thing is of interest at this point is what is being offered is something that is historic rather than new.
If it, then there are two. Then there are these issues. Number one, should phenolphthalein results, presumptive, or phthalidine results, presumptive tests, be permissible with respect to the testimony concerning those areas? That would be one issue. Another issue has to do with how are we going to preserve what we all just saw, which, if we all had to describe what we just saw, I think that there might be some significant differences. Mr. Harmon concedes it's subtle.
Well, Mr. Sims, is there a photo adapter for this microscope available?
Stop. Whoa. There is it does not matter what any of you saw. You are lawyers. It doesn't matter what you think you saw in a microscope. You are not a scientist. Mr. Sims is the only one who can give an opinion on what he saw through that microscope. If you want to bring Mr. Lee in, or Dr. Lee, sorry, that was bad of me. If you want to bring Dr. Lee in, you can bring Dr. Lee in, and he can say what he saw. But you can't. I don't care what you saw. You're a freaking lawyer. And who is this guy? Do we know him? The one beside Shaq in front of the bailiff.
Dr. Lee took pictures of these socks, so
That-
we've never seen them.
My point-
I saw him do that
With a stereo microscope?
through a microscope. I stand corrected. Yes, the device that's on that photo board, Dr. Lee took photos of the socks.
All right, well, the issue Mr. Scheck raises is a good one. How do we preserve this?
How do we preserve any consumed sample?
No.
That's,
I don't make that as a facetious question. Since the jury is going to look at this, is there a way that we can preserve what the jury is being shown, assuming I let you do this? I was just asking, I assume that you know whether or not we can attach a photo adapter to this microscope.
if that's the only condition that we can do it under, we'll
I know one can, and that really is one of my points, that
All right.
before we go through this, at some point in time, if we go through it, that there certainly should be some way to preserve the record, because particularly since other people from our side, would then want to observe what this looked like at this point in time with these socks after all the subsequent handling and testing that have gone on, since in particular Dr. Lee looked at them in February. So that's my point. We have a serious issue here of making the record. And there is the presumptive point. And frankly, my cross-examination of Mr. Sims on the sock examination was limited to what he could see with his naked eye. And I believe his testimony was that every stain he cut out for testing he could see with his naked eye. And those were the points I made with him, and that was it. So I think that this is,
Beyond
again,
the scope.
yeah.
All right.
On this photography stuff, I don't remember us taking pictures of the glove when it came out. I don't remember us taking pictures of the knit cap. I'm not sure that's
No,
illegal.
counsel, the problem is, that's real evidence that the jury gets to look at, correct? But this is something that they will not be able to look at in the jury room in this form.
Well, they could. They could do that.
Not easily. I think it would be interesting, were I the finder of fact, to be able to preserve what it is that I see there. Now, what I see there is an ultra-fine weave. Appears to be a synthetic material because of its shininess, obviously not cotton. There appear to be these little reddish spherical items interspersed within these
Blood.
small weavings.
Appears to be
and
blood.
they appear to be dispersed over an area to the top of what I saw there, not in the center. It would be nice if we could preserve that. I just asked, can we do that? That's not a condition.
We're working on that, Your Honor.
That's what we're doing right now, Your Honor. We're checking.
Do what Jenny said. Sketch it.
At a minimum, what we could do at this
But I
moment.
have to say, since we found out that LAPD doesn't have video cameras, they may not have photo adapters.
Maybe someone will donate them when they hear that, Your Honor.
What I was going to suggest at a minimum, Your Honor, to save time, is that what we could do is take a photograph of the position of the sock under the microscope to preserve the positioning so that it could be repositioned again when we have the photo adapter, and then take the photograph that would preserve the view, so that we wouldn't waste any time.
None of what you did
And
just
we could do
saved
that
time.
at this moment.
None
All right,
of
the
it.
other issue is whether or not I should allow testimony regarding the presumptive testing on the sock. All right, two issues. Can the prosecution present a view of the sock to the jury at this time on redirect examination of Mr. Sims? Clearly, the issue presented to the jury, one of the issues is whether or not blood could be seen on the sock at the time that it was examined. First of all, at the time that it was picked up on June the 13th. Also at the time that Mr. Matheson, Mr. Yamauchi, and Ms. Kessler did their inventory on June the 29th. The issue then being how the blood may or may not have been deposited on that sock. So clearly the issue is before the jury. What you can and can't see on a dark-colored sock is clearly an issue before the jury. So this testimony has been gone into, this questioning has been gone into by both sides with Mr. Sims, so I find it an appropriate questioning within the scope of the redirect examination. So I'll allow the microscopic examination. Next question is whether or not the court should allow the results of presumptive testing with regards to the sock. I don't think that that lends anything to the finder of fact here, because the issue is, can you see blood on it, not whether or not the presumptive testing was done. So what I'll allow is the exhibition of both spots on the sock that you've just shown to the court, and we'll forego any testimony regarding presumptive testing at this time. All right, that's the court's ruling.
If there was other testing, Your Honor, conventional or DNA quality.
Why don't you let Mr. Harmon address this?
Your Honor, I believe on the second area that we showed, that we have complied with the court's
All right,
earlier ruling.
if the second area is the place that was tested, presumptively, and then tested with a confirmation test, which the PCR test I assume is, then I'll allow that. That's the court's ruling that I made 2 months ago. All right.
Your Honor, but my concern remains about, I would insist, frankly, since I know it's possible, whether they have the equipment or not is another issue, I would insist that we have a contemporaneous record through a photograph of exactly, through this enhanced view, what everybody saw and when they saw it. And that's particularly important if defense experts are going to get on the stand and comment on what the jury has already seen. How can they do it without a record, particularly if the socks are then put back in the bag and handled again without question? Those areas will change.
Ms. Martinez?
It's not available at the moment, and Mr. Yamaguchi, they're trying to contact Mr. Yamaguchi.
I just contribute that these stains are still here in spite of Dr. Lee rolling them inside out. That was pretty rough treatment he gave them
Well,
back
Mr.
in
Harmon,
February.
Mr. Harmon, that's not the issue. The issue is, can we preserve this
Sure.
so that their experts can take a look at it? If it's possible, I'd like to do that.
Sure, and we'd be happy to. I was just responding to that. Your Honor.
Okay. All right, it's not necessary. Mr. Fairlaw, let's see if you can, how close a fine view through the viewer you can get.
There are, if this is any assistance, there are devices which attach to these microscopes.
I know, I
that
have
keep-
one. I have one at home. If I'd known, I would have brought it with me.
And there are problems here in terms of being able to get the stereo view.
I believe him.
And if it helps, it was my recollection that we had asked at one point whether they had such devices available at the LAPD. In fact, I think the court recalls this discussion. And
I recall we had this discussion because Dr. Lee or somebody had to rent a microscope for one.
Yes.
Why
and
does he
my-
have a
I recollect
microscope
that.
at
So
home?
my
though?
recollection
Why?
is
What does he
that,
do with
and
it?
don't hold me
Come
to it,
on.
is that we may be in a futile search at LAPD to get the device that's necessary to create this documentation.
Well, what we may have to do is draw a pencil outline
Yes.
of that sock and the way it is, and I'll
Draw
have to have the
a
bailiff sit
sketch.
here all night and drag the
Draw
sock till
a
we get a microscope.
sketch.
Any chance that'll focus through the eyepiece?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No,
Well, I'll tell you what.
just won't.
Let's proceed with the testimony, and we'll.
Your Honor, what we could do also, we have an expert here, and if he's the one who positions the sock, he can make notes as to where he positioned it, and then have...
Oh, I understand that. I understand that. But I'm just trying to do this as easily as possible. But my proposal is that we go forward. Mr. Sims was able to locate these places on the basis of his notes. I feel confident.
You are absolutely not trying to do this as easy as possible. You are all making this as hard as it possibly can be. Who cares what position the sock is on that table right now? Who cares? If the stain is on the sock, it's on the sock. Every time you lay the sock down on the table, the stain will be on the sock. The microphone will see, the microscope will see the stain on the sock. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in the exact same position. Just put it back down on the table and look through the microscope. It's not that hard. You've been doing this for what? Hold on, let me look at my time. I don't know how long I've been streaming because I can't see, but you've been trying to position a sock for this freaking long. Let me see if I can see. I need to know now. 28 freaking minutes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know, I really thought that earlier talking about the change all those times was bad, but talking about the position of a sock for 28 minutes is...
Confident in his ability to do that. My concern is the concern that Mr. Scheck raises, because obviously these are things that can eventually break off or powder off. And I just like to get it as close to what we have now that the jury is going to see.
Kelly, break
Does that
it.
make sense?
Break your iPad. You do not want to watch this. I wish my iPad was broke.
If this particular stain is survived this long, it's not going anywhere.
Well, I'm glad you're confident about that, but I'm just a little more cautious. If we can get it photographed this afternoon, that's what I'd like to do.
Mr. Simpson informs me, if we wait a few minutes, he believes he has a micro photograph of that B2 stain before the sampling was done. And we're trying to locate that right now.
If that's what they have, then that's what they ought to use, because that's the best evidence.
It's probably in the
No,
trunk
I think
of
maybe the jury can see. I'm
Lang's
just concerned
police car.
if we can compare the photograph with what we can see here. But my inclination right now, Mr. Harmon, which one of these stains do you want to proceed with? Because what we'll have to do is have the jury cycle through, and I'm going to encourage them to take as much time as they want. So
Sure.
pick the one you want to show first.
The one without the cutout, which is below B1.
All right. Mr. Sims, would you position that for us, please, right now? Those are large.
Sure. How's this going to work? So he'll position the microscope, all right? The jury will come down, they'll take a look. We'll then put a guard here. How am I going to...
No, I'm being facetious, counsel. I'm sure we can find a photo adapter for a microscope between now and 5 o'clock.
Well, no, but then let me go on. This will end at some point, and I'll be able to get up and ask Mr. Sims some questions. We're going to have to leave it there like that.
No. I think Mr. Sims was able to locate the first spot on the sock by referring to his notes and other landmarks that are on the sock. I mean, there is a regular pattern to the sock, and there's regular decorative interweavings in the sock. He can locate those items and refocus for us. And we won't roll them up, we'll just fold them and put them back into the bag today. And Mrs. Robertson will keep custody of them, if we can't accomplish that by 5 today.
No,
I note your objection. All right. All right, Deputy Magnera, let's have the jury, please.
Start with this right now? I can do it. Okay.
When the jury comes by, the counsel table will be cleared of all notes and papers.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That I had to rule upon before some items are shown to you, and we had to set some of the physical evidence up to show you. All right, Mr. Gary Sims is again on the witness stand undergoing redirect examination by Mr. Harmon. Good afternoon again, Mr. Sims.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Mr. Sims, you were, sir, reminded you were still under oath, and Mr. Harmon, you may continue with your redirect examination.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to have marked as People's 287 for identification the chart that we made up over the lunchtime.
Yes.
I've given a copy to counsel. Mr. Sims, what I'd like to do is just to recap with the chart that you helped prepare with us over the week or over the lunch hour.
Okay.
Okay. What I want to do is just kind of discuss your numbers real quickly in the groups from which these stains were collected, namely 47, 48, 49, and 50.
Okay.
Okay? Could you tell us what your figures were for 47?
For 47, it was 0.9 nanograms DNA per 1 milligram swatch.
So 47 is 0.9.
Yes.
Then 48,
That is 0.6,
then 49,
0.1,
and 50.
0.53.
And in parentheses, you have slot blot there. That's the method that you use to estimate the amount of DNA?
Yes, that was a determination of the total amount of human DNA.
Ooh, I hope it goes well. Are they going to check your throat?
And if you look at the monitor, I just want you to look at the area that these were collected from. That's 47,
Okay.
48,
Okay.
49,
Okay.
50.
Okay.
Okay. And substrate looks comparable in those four.
Yikes.
Yes.
Okay. And then 52. What sort of estimation did you come up with 52, the one from out in the driveway?
That was 2.4 by the slot blot also.
Okay, that reflects your quantification from 287.
Yes.
by the slot blot method again?
Yes.
Okay. That looks like a different kind of surface.
Yes, I would say that that appears to be a different surface than the earlier ones.
Okay, and then with respect to 6, what was your quantification of item 6 from the Rockingham address?
That was 6.7.
And how did you estimate that?
Well, that was based on the high molecular weight from a yield gel blot, where we actually tested the DNA for human content.
And what's the correlation between estimating it in the way you did number 6 versus 47, 48, 49, and 50?
Well, with some of those other samples that in that Bundy series, some of those were subjected to just the yield gel analysis, and we could see this degradation pattern that appeared to be from bacterial contamination.
And 6 looks like a different surface.
Yes, that driveway looks different.
Okay, let's move to, I've asked you to assume hypothetically the 12 was on an indoor floor, and we're looking for that photograph now. But let's shift to 115, 116, and 117. Okay, and what are your estimations on the amount of DNA in those 3 samples?
Number 115 was 13.5, number 116 was 13.6, and number 117 was 27.
Mr. Sims, does that look like one of the photos that you've seen for 115, 116, 117?
Yes, I believe I've seen that photo or a similar photo before.
Okay, and let's show you a close-up of that. Does that look like one of the other photos you've seen?
Yes.
No, I think but these are July 3rd photos.
Yes. What board is this from?
Exhibit 53, Your Honor.
All right.
Move on to 53D then. It's a photograph of 116. 53E. It's a photograph of 117 from outside. 53F. It's a close-up photograph of 117. You seen those photographs before?
Yes, I have.
Donna! Hi, how are you?
I'd like to put up 48A, Your Honor, the perspective of the walkway, which includes numbered stains that Mr. Sims has seen individual photos of.
Cold. I'm
Do you recognize that,
dying.
Mr. Sims?
I think this is the first time I've seen this perspective photograph.
Your Honor, at this point, I think it's, jury's seen it, it's foundational at this point to ask him to comment
done
on.
the
But I
photographs
am
he
mad
has.
at the
We're done at
judge.
352.
352
So
foundational
that's
objection at
probably
this point.
why.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. Mr. Sims, I want you to assume now, we've talked about, you've seen the areas that these things were collected from, you've commented on the differences in substrates. I want you to assume that items 115, 116, and 117 were collected on July 3rd, 1994, okay?
Okay.
And they were, that a criminalist was specifically directed to collect those stains, okay?
Okay.
That those stains were collected in the same fashion as the stains were collected on June 13th at Bundy, okay?
Okay.
They were taken directly to the lab to dry,
Okay.
that they were in,
Object to any more questions along this line because there's on foundational grounds with respect to the absence of testimony.
Right, that's premature then. Proceed.
That they were in the
That's awesome,
plastic
Jude.
bags, which the other items which were collected on June 13th were originally placed in, for a shorter period of time.
Overrule.
No foundation.
Overrule.
Okay?
Okay?
Now, you've talked about bacteria getting in there and chewing up the human DNA. If there was no bacteria on the gate, as opposed to the bacteria that you saw at the Bundy crime scene,
Objection to this form of this foundationally in terms of this hypothetical.
Overrule.
I'll withdraw that. You saw no signs of bacterial contamination or degradation in 115, 116, 117, right?
That's correct. I didn't see that pattern that we did see in some of the Bundy drops.
Okay, Is it surprising that you see the amount of human DNA that you do in 115, 116, and 117, given the assumptions I've just asked you to make?
So, objection to the form of that question calls for
Sustained.
speculation.
Is there
Raise
any,
the question.
is there anything remarkable about the amounts of DNA that you see in 115, 116, and 117, given that you don't see any bacterial-caused degradation?
Same objection.
Sustained. Phrase the question.
You didn't see any bacteria in 115, 116, and 117.
I saw no evidence of that bacterial degradation pattern, no.
Okay, and what is the significance of that, not seeing any bacterial degradation, in light of the amount of DNA that you saw?
Objection to the form of that question.
Overrule.
Well, the significance that I see in this is that there's no evidence of the kind of massive bacterial contamination of these samples that was seen in some of the other Bundy samples. So in other words, I don't see the evidence of that, so it's not surprising to me that we recovered a good amount of DNA out of these samples to work with.
And if 115, 116, and 117 were in fact there on June 13th and there was no bacterial-induced degradation, would you expect to see what you saw when you analyzed those samples?
Yes, that's a reasonable expectation.
You have reviewed Mr. Matheson's notes and the conventional serological testing that he performed on 115, 116, and 117, have you not?
Yes, I've seen that run sheet.
Okay. Are the conventional serology results obtained by Mr. Matheson with respect to 115, 116, and 117 similar?
To each other, yes, they are.
When I say similar, I mean to each other within the three samples.
Yes.
And what markers did Mr. Matheson test those three samples for?
He tested for EAP and also PGM.
Now, we've heard a lot about EAP, and I don't intend to go into that with you. But what form of test did Mr. Matheson use for PGM, the marker PGM?
I'm sorry, a little more, could you give me a little more information?
Sure. Do you know what kind of test he performed for the PGM marker in those three stains?
Yes, this was protein electrophoresis.
And did he perform PGM subtyping?
Yes, it was actually a PGM subtyping system.
Okay. In your years of doing conventional serology, both for prosecutors and defendants, is that a marker that you've tested frequently?
Yes, very often.
And did you keep abreast, and do you keep abreast of the scientific literature about the PGM marker?
Yes.
What can you tell us about the term is the term persistence of some technical significance in this area?
Yes, that's a term that's used to describe how long a period of time and what kind of conditions a sample, such as blood, could be exposed to, and you could still get a typable result.
And could you tell us what you are aware of from the scientific literature about the persistence of the PGM marker based on the scientific literature?
Yes, it's a, as far as enzymes are concerned, we would consider it a fairly stable marker. In typical laboratory studies, laboratory-prepared blood stains, it might persist for something like a month, 2 months, 3 months, something like that. Now, this is at room temperature.
And those are, you said, laboratory-prepared stains.
Yes.
Could you tell us what that means?
Well, what that generally means is that somebody takes a fresh blood sample, puts it on something like a clean cotton swatch material, and then just lets it sit at ambient conditions, usually indoors.
And what's the range on this, that the studies have shown that the PGM marker persists under those conditions?
Well, again, it would go from something like about a month out to maybe several months, something like that. It's a fairly broad range.
What can you tell us about, you told us that the results are comparable for all three stains, is that right?
Yes, the results as reported by Mr. Matheson were all comparable.
And when you say comparable, can you tell us what results were obtained?
Well, for all of the PGM samples, no activity was observed.
What does that mean?
That means that you don't see any of these bands on the gel. You look in the lane where that sample was run and you don't see any of the bands.
Does that mean that the marker did not persist in the way you described it a little bit ago?
Yes, it's gone off or lost its activity. And again, that assumes that the test was performed correctly and the standards give the proper results, and they appear to in this case.
What sorts of things have an impact on this losing the activity for the PGM marker?
Well, again, sometimes with proteins, a lot of different biochemical reactions can take place, such that it'll be degraded to a point where it may just lose its activity altogether. Or what usually happens is, especially with PGM, it goes through a series of reactions until it gets weaker and weaker, and then it's just no longer detectable.
What's the impact of just time alone on a stain that's been allowed to dry?
Well, with time, any stain would, and not unpreserved, in other words, left in the environment, the ambient environment, it'll get to the point where it's no longer typable.
What about sunlight?
Yes, sunlight could have an effect on something like that.
Or what kind of effect?
Well, again, it would no longer be typable.
And the EAP results that Mr. Matheson obtained on those 3 samples, 115, 116, and 117, what were they?
Again, no activity was detected.
Do these comparable results that were produced for all 3 of the stains, do they support those stains being on the same substrate in the same environment for a comparable period of time?
Yes, I mean, again, within broad limits, but yes, they all look the same as far as the PGM results.
And if testimony is shown that item 115 was on that gate on June 13th, are the comparable results that you've just described consistent with the other 2 stains having been on the gate on June 13th?
No. Objection to the foundation of that hypothetical.
Sustained.
Okay. Is there anything about your review of Mr. Matheson's testing and your review of all of the data in testing for 115, 116, and 117 support the conclusion that those 3 stains were on that gate on June 13th?
Objection to the form of that question.
Sustained.
Is there anything in your review of Mr. Matheson's testing and your actual testing on 115, 116, and 117 which is inconsistent with those 3 stains being on the rear gate on June 13th?
Objection.
Sustained.
What, if anything, is there in your reports which may be construed as undermining the fact that those 3 stains, 115, 116, and 117, were on the rear gate on June 13th, 1994?
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Harmon, the problem I'm having is the assumption of June the 13th. There's some comparability as far as age or activity that you could draw from those conclusions. I'll allow that.
That's what I was
The
attempting.
problem is the assumption about the age. The specific date is the assumption that I'm having problems with.
Is there anything about your observations, the testing of those 3 stains that your lab did, as well as your review of Mr. Matheson's test results, which is inconsistent with those stains being on the gate for the same period of time?
I found nothing inconsistent.
And same question, but let's make that same period of time begin
I'm
June
sorry,
13th.
Tona. I hope it gets done soon, and I hope it turns out great.
Mr. Sims, is there anything that you've seen in your review of Mr. Matheson's test results on 115, 116, and 117, combined with the actual testing and review of those 3 stains yourself, which is inconsistent with those stains being on that gate for a period of 2 to 3 weeks?
Overruled.
I found nothing inconsistent with that.
Mr. Sims, it's time that we finish and talk about the socks, okay?
Okay.
You don't have any idea when the stains you tested on those socks were deposited there, do you?
That's correct.
You know from the test results that there were many stains, is that true?
Yes.
You know from your test results they were from more than one person.
Sustained.
Do you know from your test results that they were from more than one person?
Still leading.
Overruled.
Yes.
Do your test results include Nicole Brown and Mr. Simpson as possible sources on sock A?
That's correct.
Do your test results include Nicole Brown from among the 3 reference samples as a possible source on sock B?
That's correct.
You previously described numerous microscopic stains on sock B between the 2 stains that you typed as being consistent with Nicole Brown. Is that correct?
Yes, within that area of the sock, yes.
Those about a dozen?
Something like that, yes.
And you previously described that there was no apparent blood which soaked through from 13A1 to the opposite side of that sock?
Your Honor,
Just stand, that's waiting.
I want to get on with this whole leading.
Was there any apparent blood which soaked through to the opposite side of the major stain that you tested from Greg Matheson's cutout at 13A1?
Well, again, when I laid that sock out and looked at it, I didn't see any evidence for that.
In your opinion, strike that. You've looked, and we're going to look at the socks through the microscope, but how many hours did you scan these socks using the microscope for?
It would be very difficult for me to estimate that, but many hours, I would say many hours, looking through the microscope and then also looking at them macroscopically.
Having spent many hours looking at the various stains and keeping in light the results that you've produced, your typing results, when the blood which you've typed as being consistent with Nicole Brown appears dry, okay?
Okay.
Is it just as difficult to see as the blood that you've typed consistent with Mr. Simpson's blood?
Objection to that hypothetical.
Just say, rephrase the question.
You produced two different sets of typing results on these socks, is that correct?
Yes.
Some you've typed consistent with Mr. Simpson,
Yes.
some you've typed consistent with Nicole Brown.
Yes.
Having spent those many hours looking at those stains, do the stains that type consistent with Nicole Brown, do they look any differently than the stains that you type consistent with Mr. Simpson?
Objection to foundation, and it's vague as to what stains what place. Oral.
I didn't note any difference, no.
So of the two different typing results that you produced, were they equally difficult to visualize?
Seems facts not in evidence in terms of what's visualized.
Sustain.
Is there any scientific reason to believe that Mr. Simpson's blood is more difficult to see than Nicole's blood on those socks?
Rephrase the question.
Are you aware of any scientific principle which would explain why Mr. Simpson's blood might be more difficult to see than Nicole Brown's blood when you look at those socks?
Same objection.
Sustain.
Are you aware of any scientific literature that says one person's blood is more difficult to see on a pair of black socks than another person's?
Objection. Oral.
No, I'm not aware of any such literature.
Mr. Sims, let's talk about the socks and specifically sock B at this point.
Okay.
In the many hours that you looked at sock B, you performed several samplings of sock B, is that correct?
Yes.
How many different cuttings did you make of sock B which led to typing results?
There were 2 stains cut out on B that led to typing results.
And those were stains which typed consistent with Nicole Brown?
Yes.
Those are 42B1, or your number 42B1?
Yes.
This is from sock 13B, and your number 42B2?
Yes.
Okay. I want to direct you, do you have your sketch in front of you?
Yes, I do.
And have you set up sock B here on an area that was of interest to you that you noted when you examined these socks on November 11th, 1994?
Yes.
And without going into any processing about that specific stain, would you tell us how you located it without talking about any testing, and what you were able to see back in November?
Well, I was examining it under the stereo microscope, and I was documenting where the reddish stains were.
And how many reddish stains did you document just on the side that we're looking at that's reflected on page 117 in your notes?
Well, again, it was about a dozen. I haven't counted them again, but it's in that area of a dozen.
These are in addition to the 2 stains that you've described as having type B1 and B2?
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And then at some point, did you flip the sock over and visualize other reddish areas on the other sock?
Well, on the other side of that sock, yes.
I'm sorry, the other side.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I have this sketch projected, or marked as 288 and projected on the Elmo?
All right, Peoples 288. And how about a foundational question or two about the date that this was prepared?
Mr. Sims, what date did you do this work that's reflected on page 117?
The actual sketch was made on November 11th of 1994, and then I went, and it says in the middle of the page, I went back and noted some additional stains on November 21st of 1994.
Okay, may I put that on the Elmo, Your Honor? What I'd like to do, Mr. Sims, I think we've covered both sides of the sock now. You saw 4 on the opposite side of the sock, 2 stains that you typed, and then 12 other little areas on the side that's on 288, the sketch, right?
Yes, about 12.
Okay, and you have already set up the stereo microscope on one of those areas, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay, could we have that up too? And could you help, Jonathan, we want to put an arrow that points out the area on the sock that the stereo microscope is focused on at this point.
Okay, where,
Okay, we'll... Mr. Sims, can you step down and help direct Jonathan to this? Okay, is that arrow in the correct place?
yes.
Okay, and now, go ahead, you can have a seat again. Could we capture that, Your Honor?
Please. Please.
Thank you. That'd be 288A.
Yes, 288A.
Okay. Now, Mr. Sims, you've looked at the sock this morning under the stereo microscope that's before me on the counsel table, have you not?
Yes, I have.
Before you looked at the sock, or strike that, is what that arrow is pointing to, is that visible to the naked eye?
It's only visible to the naked eye under if you illuminate it strongly and get the proper illumination, you can sort of see the discoloration.
Okay, and you reviewed this sock B this morning to locate the area on 288A that we just showed on your sketch there?
Yes.
Does it look the same as it did when you looked at it back in November of '94?
I don't notice any difference. It appears to be similar.
Your Honor, at this point,
Mr. Sims, what do you see at this location?
At this particular location, I see some reddish staining. It's almost like a fine powder that's over the black fibers that are present. And you can see that under the microscope, you can see well the difference between the reddish area of the stain against the background.
and have you seen that reddish staining in other areas, for example, in an area 42B2 that we'll have the jury look at later on?
Yes, it's a similar type of staining on this particular item throughout.
Does it look like blood?
Yes, it looks like blood.
Chairman, suggestion that if we're going to, we have a plan here, but I would request that maybe we elicit the foundation as to both places for observation and just do a seriatim.
Yeah, but we're going to take a break in between.
Okay.
So, all right. Let's start with juror number 1492. We'll start at the end of the queue this time. Let's have 1492 come forward, take a look. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we'll just bring you up here one at a time to look through the stereo microscope. Take your time. Don't feel rushed. Recess for about 20 minutes just so we can change the location that the microscope looks at. So please remember my admonitions to you, and we'll bring you out as soon as we have that reposition for you to look at. All right? All right, we'll take about 20 minutes, and is that was macro photography, not micro photography.
Well, and that was Dr. Blake's choice. I mean, he's made a lot of choices in this case, and that I don't need to reiterate. That was his choice.
Let me ask Mr. Simpson another technical question. What kind of camera did you use to do this?
That was just a 35mm camera that's mounted onto the actual stereo microscope we have in the
That's just one of those T-tube mounts on the microscope?
Yes, something like that.
So any single lens reflex that will work with that?
Yes, I think you might have to get a mount for that particular camera.
Mr. Scheck, any reason that Dr. Blake didn't avail himself of that?
Well,
Since his photographs, the ones that I've seen, also appear to be 35mm.
But the point is the court made is that these are macro photographs. I can only go on what he gives me and what, and we requested to see what their photographs were. And the point is that if we knew that they were taking extensive microphotographs and saw what those were in contrast to the macro photographs and what points could be made, then, we can anticipate that and deal with it and take other photographs. But the point is that right now they want to draw lots of inferences from a microphotograph, and we don't have an opportunity. And you can even see from the photographs taken with right now that there were 5 different photographs, and they all look remarkably different in terms of the exposures of light and everything else, in terms of looking at the stain that the jury just saw. One of them is very red, the other one isn't so red, the one is in between. And we asked for it, they're the ones that resisted it, so that we could see if there was real comparability with the photographs. When it became clear that we wanted to use photographs with the witness, we were in the position where we gave them everything. So it seems to me that at this point in time, to proceed in this fashion is just unfair surprise. And it's not something that, we're fairly in a position to assess. Frankly, I think the points are made without this. And we weren't in a position to get comparable documentation by the way that they proceeded.
Can I respond just briefly, Your Honor?
Sure.
Just 2 points. It's very difficult to have a fair and open discussion of this when Blake hasn't been in this courtroom for months and months. So for Mr. Scheck to say,
I don't think he's ever been here.
I thought he was before I ever came here. That must have been a out-of-body experience I had.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cochran. Has Dr. Blake ever been here?
Not that I can recall.
I expect to be in a bar in Berkeley and have him come up and introduce himself. Because I have no idea what the man looks like.
I won't touch that, Your Honor.
All right.
He was here during the Griffin hearing.
Well, I don't recollect him.
I saw him on television, Your Honor.
Did he testify?
Yeah, he testified. I think he was advising me.
Okay.
So, I mean, Your Honor, they did have notice. He's there. Gary records when he's there. He was there during this. The fact that they chose not to pursue this, I mean, we've weighed things. They've never weighed swatches before.
All right, you've made that point already, Mr. Harmon.
Okay, so they were on actual notice. And the second point is to say that somebody could draw unfair inferences from that photograph ignores the fact that this is one we don't have to pretend there's no presumptive test on. We have a presumptive test and we have a PCR test. There's no pretending that that's not human blood on there. That is clearly proven by the test results. The inference that one draws is that you can find human blood when you can't even see it, which is the whole materiality of that photograph. There's nothing unfair about that inference. If Dr. Blake chose to ignore that, that's one thing. They were on actual notice, and there's nothing unfair. That's the missing piece that was the subject of the testing for 42B2 in this case, Your Honor.
All right. Well, the inference that I draw from this discussion is that Dr. Blake was present when Mr. Sims was conducting this part of this examination, that he had microscopic access to the sock and had access to and was able to take whatever photographs that he chose at that time. So the objection will be overruled. All right, let's have the jury, please.
That's with the second jury showing there.
All right. Your choice. Sims, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, let the record reflect Gary Sims is again on the witness stand undergoing redirect examination by Mr. Harmon. And Mr. Harmon, you may conclude your redirect examination.
Thank you, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Sims, were you present when photographs were taken of the first area that we showed on your sketch of the sock B?
Yes, just a few minutes ago.
Okay, and have you had a chance to look at the photographs that were taken?
Yes, I have.
What kind of device was that was used to take the photographs?
Well, it was a Polaroid camera that's mounted onto the microscope to take a photomicrograph.
Your Honor, at this time I'd request to have marked a series of 5 photographs, 289, A through F, E. May I mark them on the back, Your Honor? Sims, I'd like to show you these photographs in 289A through E. Are those photographs which were taken of the first area on SOC 13B and the area that you focused the stereo microscope on?
Yes.
And we're starting with A. Can you just general or strike that? Why do the photographs look a little bit different, each one of them, from the other?
Well, the differences occur because there are differences in the exposure time. So in other words, you get a little less or a little more light, and so what you try to do is get the best exposure.
And does that change in exposure? Does that change the color in any way?
It can have an effect on the color balance with Polaroid film.
And do you see in each and every one of those photographs, 289A through E, do you see the area that looked reddish, that looked like blood when you examined the SOC 13B through the stereo microscope?
Yes.
Okay, could you start with the clearest of those photographs?
Okay.
Which one's the clearest one to you?
I think A is sharp. Some of them are very similar, but A is fine.
Okay. Could I put them up on the Elmo? I'm just going to put one of them up on.
Just one. Since this is a photograph of something the jurors have seen.
Yes.
Okay.
Putting 289A on Elmo. Mr. Sims, I'm going to ask you to step down here and, if you can, circle the area that is of interest to you on that photograph 289A.
OJ started late today, so you're fine. You're fine. You're gonna get enough frustration in for one day. We almost had another sketch. Almost. Of a sock. We were this close.
Okay, may we capture that, Your Honor?
Yes.
So that's 289A1.
289A1.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead and have a seat, Mr. Sims. Your Honor, I'd like to pass the photographs to the jury.
I'm just a little reluctant time-wise because the jurors had the opportunity to look at this, Mr. Harmon, and they can see this on the screen.
Okay.
Time-wise? Time-wise? Shut up, Judge Ito. Shut up. Shut up.
Just do one, Your Honor, 289A.
The jurors have each had the opportunity to come down, look through the microscope, which is the best view. This captures for them, refreshes their recollection when they're in the jury room as to what that location was.
Okay.
I think they've seen enough.
Mr. Sims, I want to put 288, your sketch from November 11th of SOC B, the same sketch that we had up a little while ago, and I want you to focus on your area 42B2.
Okay.
Okay. How were you able to identify that area on the SOC that you ultimately performed PCR testing on?
In other words, identify it in terms of its location.
Yeah, how'd you find that?
Well, I found it by looking under the stereo microscope.
And initially, were you aware of its presence before you used the stereo microscope?
On that particular stain, I believe, again, I was looking through the stereo microscope when I found 42B2.
Okay. And when you look through the stereo microscope, do you have the capacity to take photographs of what you see through the stereo microscope?
Yes.
Did you take a picture of that before you sampled it?
Yes.
Okay, let me just back up a little bit. Did you do some sort of presumptive test on that 42B2 area before you sampled it?
Yes.
What did you do?
I did an orthotolidine test, a presumptive test for blood.
And when you say presumptive, that means it could be blood?
Yes.
And then you ultimately did PCR DQ alpha testing on it?
Yes.
And the results were consistent with Nicole Brown?
On 42B2, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd request to have marked as People's 290 for identification. Mr. Sims' micro photograph of that stain area. May I mark that on the back?
You may.
Mr. Sims, showing you to mark this People's Exhibit 290. Is that the photograph that you took?
Yes, this is a close-up photograph of stain 42B2 before it was cut out.
Okay. Can I put that on the projector, Your Honor?
You may.
Now, Mr. Sims, can you, if you can, why don't you come down here and use some arrows and show us the areas that caught your attention when you looked at it through the stereo microscope?
Mr. Robertson?
Or would it be more helpful to circle it, or?
I could show maybe 2 arrows or something like
Sure,
that.
why don't you put some arrows where the area that caught your attention?
Oops, let me-
We're looking at a sock. Stains on a sock. We've been looking at a sock for over an hour now.
Did we just lose our big screen, Mrs. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Could we try to do it using our small monitor, capture it, and then pass both around to the jury?
All right, let's try that.
Try that.
All right, Ms. Fitzpatrick, can we just bring up the attorney's monitors and then capture a photograph from Yelmo from the attorney's monitors? Mr. Harmon, Ms. Fitzpatrick tells me she doesn't think we can. We can. We'll try. All right. Ms. Fitzpatrick, have we blown a fuse on the monitor? I'm not sure, Your Honor. All right. Mr. Harris? Okay. I'm going to see. How is the resolution on that, Mr. Harmon? I can't quite see from here.
The color's kind of strange.
It's, the color's a little,
All right, I have a very sharp image on my monitor.
It's blurry. It's as if we're getting a double image.
All right. Let's do this. Let's have Mr. Sims mark the location from the from the council's monitor. Let's take the big screen down,
I blew my fuse twice already during this
and
stream.
we can have Mr. Sims mark it from the monitor.
Which for OJ is not that bad. Just twice. Remember a minute ago when he was talking about for time's sake?
Arrows on there, and one of them's higher than the other. Mr. Sims, what caught your attention in the higher arrow there?
just, there's some reddish staining that you can see in the photograph.
Could we capture that, Your Honor, make that 298?
Yes.
And the lower arrow, what caught your attention in there?
Again, there's some reddish staining in the photograph.
Now, how big an area, let's say, compared to what we see on the screen there, was it that you cut out of the sock to do your DNA testing from?
An area compared to that particular photograph,
Sure.
it was somewhat larger than that, as I recall.
So the area was actually larger than the area we see in the photograph.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
How large an area is that in the photograph? Give us a ballpark.
Well, again, I want to look at my notes on that point.
Okay, why don't you do that? Your Honor, well, could we pass 290 and 290A around to the jury?
I guess we have to. Mr. Harmon, do you have any other questions
No,
for?
I don't. I'm just waiting for the image to come out. And,
Okay.
well, Mr. Sims was actually looking to see how large an area that was.
The actual cutout area on 42B2 was about 13 millimeters by 5 millimeters. So when I took those photo micrographs, there's an earlier one that actually shows a scale, but the purpose of that particular photo was to just show what the substance looked like. It wasn't a documentation of the exact area, the dimensions of the exact area that I cut out.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd just like to pass those around, Your Honor.
All right. One more pass?
Well, I'd like to have them together, yeah.
I agree.
That did not work, Your Honor. Mr. Sims, could you take a look at the screen and see if we've got things lined up again?
That appears to be where I put the arrows.
Actually quite fast for what it does.
Depending on...
All right, Mr. Harmon, would you collect 290 from Deputy Russell, please? All right, Mr. Harmon, any other questions for Mr. Sims? All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Scheck.
Actually, I just asked Mr. Sims to perform some calculations, but Mr. Sims, how long do you think that'll take you?
2 minutes?
Great. Why don't you go ahead and do that? Thank you.
Mr. Scheck.
Thank you. Mr. Sims, let's talk briefly, if we can, first about the sock. Now, Mr. Harmon directed your attention, and we all viewed under the stereo microscope, 2 sections of sock B. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the second section of sock B that a photograph was just introduced about, that's the one you designated 42B2.
Yes.
Now, out of the stains that you testified you saw when you first got the socks at your laboratory, 42B2 was a stain that you discovered for the first time under the stereo microscope.
I believe that's correct, yes.
You
B2.
might have, is it, you're working off your notes with respect to that.
Yes.
Is it possible that you might have actually seen that stain with your naked eye before you looked under the stereo microscope?
Sustained. Phrase the question.
Could you have seen that stain with your naked eye before you looked at it under the stereo microscope?
Sustained.
Well, to the best of your recollection, can you tell us with certainty whether you saw it first under the stereo microscope or first with your naked eye?
The best of my recollection would be that I saw it first with the stereo microscope.
Okay, now, that wasn't true of all the stains on the sock, was it?
No, I believe that's correct.
Now, you told us, I believe when I was asking you questions on cross-examination, that with respect to sock A, 42A, the first thing you noticed when you saw the socks was with your naked eye, without a stereo microscope, you saw a blood drop on 42A. Is that correct?
I believe this is in the area of 42A2.
Yes.
Yes, there was an arrow directing my attention to that stain, and I saw that.
And you saw that without a stereo microscope?
Yes.
And then that was near a section on sock A where the largest cutout was taken out of all the cutouts that were made in the sock.
That was more towards the top than as opposed to the ankle region?
Yeah, the ankle. I'm talking about the ankle cutout.
Okay, the ankle cutout was more. I'm sorry, I'm losing your question now.
Okay.
Please ask me.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
Do you still have the gloves available?
We do have some gloves, yes.
Okay. Could I ask you first to take out sock A and show the jury the area that you saw with the naked eye when you first saw the socks? There was a blood stain on sock A. Could you do that? Could you just
Okay.
come over here, pull out the sock,
I think
hold
the
it
large
up,
ones are
and
down
show
on
it
the
to the
card.
jury? What would you, you'd like another piece of paper laid down? All right, actually, the way we did it before, would it be acceptable to you, Mr. Sims, if we put this paper on top of the prosecution's cart, and you could then take sake, put it out here, stand before the jury, and display it? Does that sound? Okay.
I'd like to turn it over.
Whatever you want to do.
I believe it was this one where the arrow was pointing to.
Could you please hold up sake, point to the cutout area where the arrow was for the jury, and please, if you could, walk across the jury and show us that area where you saw a blood stain with your naked eye upon first receiving those socks.
Jeff, that misstates the testimony that it was a blood stain.
Sustain. Rephrase the question.
Mr. Sims, did you later determine that the red spot you saw in the area you're about to display to the jury was a blood stain?
No, that still misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
Yes, in my opinion, it was.
Thank you. So could you please hold up the sock? It's this area over here?
Yes, by the arrow.
By the arrow. Could you please start with juror number 1 and show her and the rest of the jurors here that section that you saw the blood stain with your naked eye when you first received the sock?
Actually, that misstates the testimony.
What you later determined to be a blood stain.
Which you later determined to be a blood stain. Now, Mr. Sims, could you please now flip the sock over? And could you please display for the jury the cutout area on sock A? Well, before I do, let me just ask you a few preliminary questions. Was there a cutout area? There was a cutout area on sock A that was cut out before you received it.
Yes.
And portions of that were in a microfuge tube.
Yes.
And you determined from 3 of the 4 swatches that you tested from that area that there was something on the order of how much high molecular weight human DNA?
It was something on the order of about 1.5 micrograms, as I recall, something of that.
1,350 nanograms?
Something like that, yes.
All right. And that's just 3 of the 4 swatches, right?
That's 3 of the 4, yes.
Fair to say that was highly concentrated DNA.
It's a strong deposit, yes.
Okay. Consistent with the
Mr.
kind of
Scheck.
high concentration.
Excuse me, Mr. Scheck.
Yes.
We have the same problem. We have a witness with his back to the court and the court reporter. You can't hear what's saying.
Okay.
And you need
Please-
to address your comments to the witness.
Yes. Mr. Sims, please try to keep your voice up if you could.
Okay?
And the high concentration of DNA that you found in that section of the sock is consistent with the kind of high concentrations one finds with blood that comes from reference tubes.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I understand the question as far as reference tubes. I mean, if the blood coming out of a reference tube may be very much like the blood coming out of someone's artery, for example.
Would it be?
I don't understand that context.
Okay, let me put it to you this way. Would you not agree, sir, that blood that comes out of reference tubes tends to be highly concentrated in terms of its DNA content? No, I'm going to ask him to display something else in a second.
All right. Proceed.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, could you please display to the jury, the same fashion you did before, that cutout section of the sock, sock A?
All right, you're pointing to that with your left index finger.
Yes.
Mr. Cochran?
just hold it up so that it's clearly visible to the people in the back row?
All right, thank you, Mr. Sims.
Thank you. Mr. Sims, thank you very much. Maybe you could just return the sock there for a moment. We'll pack it up later if we could, if that's all right with the court. And you could resume your seat, and I'll... Your Honor, I think I can do it in a half hour.
Proceed.
It's an offer you can't refuse. Now, Mr. Sims, would it be fair to say that in terms of the blood-stained areas of the sock that you examined, that some areas were more difficult to see than others?
Yes, that's true.
And we have just spent, well, withdrawn, the area that Mr. Harmon directed you to point out to the jury and look at under the stereo microscope. Would it be fair to say that that was one of the more subtle areas to observe?
Mr.
Yes.
Chuck, why don't you turn the podium towards the witness there?
Thank you. Now, in the final analysis, Mr. Sims, every blood stain that you cut out of that sock, you could see with your naked eye.
Given the proper lighting, that's true.
And let me ask you some questions now about consistency in testing. You were asked some questions on redirect examination about multiple tests by different laboratories. You recall those?
Yes.
All right. Now, the RFLP DQ alpha tests, D1S80 tests that were performed by your laboratory, those tests in and of themselves cannot tell when blood or DNA from blood was deposited on any particular item.
That's correct.
Nor can it tell you how blood or DNA got on any particular item.
That's correct.
Now, if you assume that samples you tested had been previously contaminated with blood or DNA from blood, inadvertently or intentionally, at LAPD, all right? These are samples that you tested. Just asking him to assume that.
Proceed.
Would you expect that another laboratory performing the same tests that you did would get different results than you got?
Well, I think when we're talking about multiple swatches, for example, that would be one way that you could check on the contamination. But as far as the deliberate...
Or inadvertent?
Well, the inadvertent, I think, is addressed as far as contamination being inadvertent. To me, it would be unlikely that you would get this uniform contamination across all the swatches. But the second part of your question, or the second...
If you may stop you just for 1 second.
Sustain. Let him finish the answer.
Go ahead.
Well, I think when you use the word deliberate, if it was deliberately contaminated, to me, I would assume you're talking about taking a regular liquid sample of blood and making a deliberate contamination, then one might expect to get the same results all the way across.
All right, then let's just focus now on, if you assume, please listen carefully to my question and answer the question I'm asking you, okay?
Okay?
If you assume that samples you tested had previously been inadvertently cross-contaminated at LAPD, you have that assumption in mind,
Okay?
all right? I'm asking you to assume that.
Okay?
Would you expect that another laboratory would get different results than you got when you tested the samples if they were to test the samples after you?
This is some inadvertent cross-contamination that you're mentioning?
I'm asking you to assume that there was inadvertent cross-contamination of a sample. You have
Okay.
that in mind.
I have that in mind.
All right. Now, you perform tests on the sample.
Okay?
You get results such as exactly the results you reported here in court.
Okay?
Now, those same samples are then given to another laboratory to perform the same battery of tests that you performed. You have that in mind.
Yes.
Would you expect that subsequent laboratory to get results different than yours?
insufficient foundation, it's an improper hypothetical.
Well, again, now we're talking about the same sample, but I think in the context of multiple swatches, that would seem unlike, or it would seem that you might see differences in results. If there was contamination, say, of swatch A, but not of swatch C, then if one lab tested swatch A, another lab tested swatch C, then you might expect to see differences if cross-contamination occurred.
My question to you, sir, please listen carefully and answer this question.
Okay?
I'm saying that if somebody were to take the samples that you tested, the ones you tested,
Now, do you mean the exact piece of cloth, or,
what remains of the samples that you tested,
okay?
and then tested them again using the same battery of tests if there were enough sample to conduct such tests, all right?
Okay.
And further, we're assuming initially that there had been inadvertent cross-contamination at LAPD, right?
Okay.
Would you expect the subsequent laboratory to get test results that were different on the samples, the remainder of the samples that you tested, than the results that you got?
Objection, no foundation, it's an improper hypothetical. It's not based on the facts, huh?
Well, again, it gets complicated because I may have tested one swatch and saved another swatch. So if you're assuming that the swatch I got was cross-contaminated, that doesn't mean to me that the other swatch was contaminated, so you may get different results.
You cut part of swatches and left them, some of these were extraordinarily small amounts, right?
Yes, they were.
Right. On those that you cut, would you expect that the subsequent lab would get a different result than you got from the same swatch?
Objection, it states that there's no foundation, it's not based on the facts.
In the instance where we're talking about one particular small swatch, in those situations, as opposed to those situations where I had multiple swatches to work with, then I think you're right in that particular situation.
Now, the Bundy blood drops were samples that were degraded. Yes? Question? Yes? Question?
Yes, the ones, as far as the ones that we actually examined, I can speak to those, although I think, again, that one, number 52, is a Bundy blood drop that an RFLP was obtained from, so I wouldn't say that was so degraded.
To use the terminology that I believe you employed the last time we spoke about this,
Yes,
you agreed that 47, 48, 49, and 50 were substantially degraded,
yes, that's the right term.
right?
That's the term.
And you gave us on redirect examination some specific numbers that we'll get to in a minute as to how much or how little human DNA were in those samples, correct?
Yes,
And as to sample 52, you prefer to use the term degraded as opposed to substantially degraded because an RFLP test rendered a result with cell mark.
yes, I think that's somewhere where we ended up.
But in terms of numbers, nanograms, you recall we went through an exercise where we estimated amounts of DNA based on milligrams weight and the amount of DNA that you got on your slot plots. Remember that?
Yes,
And your projection, according to the assumptions behind the defense hypothetical and the projections you made, is that the total amount of human DNA in sample 52 was 33 nanograms.
I think that was based on your assumption about how much of the sample I got, because you made the assumption that I think I had 11.5% or something like that.
Now, would an estimate of about 33 nanograms for all of sample 52 be consistent in terms of testimony from Dr. Cotton that the amount of DNA, human DNA, that was the basis for the RFLP result at Cellmark was between 25 and 50 nanograms?
Hello, my name is Adam.
In other words, does that seem to be in the consistent range?
Yes.
Yes, if that is in fact what Dr. Cotton said, that she had 25 to 50 nanograms on that sample.
Now, in terms of blood drops, how many nanograms of human DNA would you expect to be in one drop of blood?
On a typical drop of blood, you may see somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 nanograms, maybe something like that, maybe up to a microgram, depending on the size of the drop, obviously.
So, notwithstanding the RFLP result on sample 52 you would agree it was degraded.
Well, again, when I'm talking about how much DNA one might get out of a drop of blood, I'm usually talking about a clean substrate like a cloth, which may yield or give back a stronger yield than the situation where we're talking about collecting number 52 off of the, I believe it's what, the carport area or something like that. That's a different substrate, and substrates don't yield the same amount of blood or DNA in the tests.
Let's talk about substrates. As I understand your testimony here on redirect examination, item number 12, blood drops recovered from the wooden floor in Mr. Simpson's Rockingham home, had a higher content of DNA in them than the Bundy drops.
That's my understanding, yes.
So when those samples were being processed, they had a higher content of DNA than the Bundy drops.
Well, now when you're saying when they were being processed, is that
Josh, you're
opposed
number
as to when
one.
they were shed? Or
Number
No.
1.
When they were being collected, packaged, dried, taken out of test tubes, all those processes that took place in the evidence processing room, would it be fair to say that the swatches from item 12 had a higher content of human DNA than the Bundy samples, based on the data you've seen?
Yes.
And even item
Thank
number
you,
6
Google AI.
from Rockingham
Thank
had a
you.
higher content of human DNA than the Bundy samples, according to the calculations you made for the prosecutor on redirect examination.
Yes.
Now let's talk further about substrates. You had a picture of 116 in the front page. Well, do you recall seeing a picture of bloodstains recovered from the front gate, photo number 116 on June 13th?
This is now the front gate, you said?
Front gate.
I-
LAPD item number 51, photo number 116 as you look at it in the pictures.
That number doesn't ring a bell to me, but I have seen, I believe, a photo of the front gate.
Okay? And the front gate is the same kind of substrate as the rear gate.
Well, I don't know that for a fact, but, I mean, if it's,
You were answering all kinds of questions from Mr. Harmon about substrates based on looking at photos, right?
yes,
All right? And looking at the photo of the front gate and comparing it to the photo of the back gate, would it be fair to say that the front gate and the back gate were the same kind of substrate?
I'd like to see the two photos side by side.
All right? We're looking for a photo now, but let's plow on. Now, you also analyzed a sample from the handrail at Bundy,
Yes,
all right? And do you recall ever seeing a picture of blood on that handrail?
yes, I believe I have seen that.
And you're
Would it be
number
fair to
1
say
here.
That in terms of
Josh, you've
substrates,
been bumped.
the blood on the handrail...
You're
Mr.
number
Vaughn,
2.
In terms of substrates, the handrail appeared similar in the photographs to the substrate on the back gate.
Yes, again, you're asking me if it's generally similar. I think it was white painted metal, as I recall.
Now, you have done yield gels and slot blots on item 51, the bloodstains from the front gate, have you not?
Yes,
And these were the ones collected on June 13th, right?
that's my understanding.
And from that substrate on the front gate, were not those bloodstains substantially degraded?
Yes, they were.
Bacterial DNA.
Well, it appeared to be bacterial. I didn't, again, remember, I'm not doing a specific test for bacteria, but it has that degradation pattern like some of the Bundy drops was seen.
So the results from the substrate on the front gate collected on June 13th were comparable to 47, 48, 49, and 50.
Yes, they were comparable.
And the results from the substrate of the handrail. You did yield gels and slot blots on that as well.
Yes,
And those showed those stains collected on June 13th from a substrate on the handrail substrate. Those also were substantially degraded, like 47, 48, 49, and 50.
yes, that is correct. The one point I wanted to make is I think it's on 47, we didn't actually run that yield gel and see that degradation pattern, but 3 of the other ones I know we did. The same kind of pattern that you're talking about on these 2 additional items.
Thank you. Now, 115, 116, and 117 were collected on July 3rd.
That's my understanding, yes.
And from that, and those, that's the back gate, right?
Yes, that's the rear gate.
And those, as you've said, had no evidence of bacterial degradation.
I did not see that pattern that we had seen on those other samples from Bundy.
Now, I've asked you to look at, you did a chart for the prosecution where you made a comparison of the amount of DNA in terms of nanograms per milligram, correct?
Per milligram of swatch material, yes.
All right, could you explain to the jury exactly what you mean by that when you're making a comparison
Take
of
the chickens with
nanograms
you. Take them.
per milligram?
Yes, what I wanted to look at was the basis of how much DNA we were recovering from some of these swatches against what the weight of the swatch material was. So you recall we talked about weighing all these swatches. I went back and I figured out how much DNA I got per each milligram unit of the swatch material of the stains.
And
I'm going to try to
would
move
it be fair to say
upstairs
that this is an analysis that tries to give you some
so the
notion
cats
of
leave me
concentration?
alone. I don't.
Yes.
I'm not going to succeed,
Now,
but I'm
have
going
you
to try.
reviewed 2 charts we prepared at the break based on the data that you gave us on redirect examination in terms of nanograms per milligram?
Yes, I
No,
had.
no.
All right.
Take the
Now,
chickens.
I'd ask
Take
that
the chickens with you.
one of these
do
be
it.
marked. What are we up to?
1192.
What are they going to do?
92A.
How mad could they
And
possibly
another
get?
one, 11.
Just put the chickens in your car.
92B.
Don't say a word.
Now, first,
Just say I'm taking
have
these.
you
They're
checked the
mine.
math on these, and does it appear to you to be substantially correct?
What are
Yes,
they going
it's
to do?
substantially correct.
Get mad at you? Probably not.
92A.
The difficulty being is our,
All right,
All right.
well, let's take a shot at 1192A.
All right.
No, I want it done right. I just changed my tire without Anthony. Do you
Try to
see
hold
that?
this up to the jury as best I can.
So what
and read
happened
it off.
was,
can you put it up on the bulletin board then?
here's what happened. I gotta pause this. So I have a really old car, okay? It's 2004, and I got a flat tire, okay? So it's in my driveway. It's right in my driveway. So the jack I have to jack this car up, it has no, it just has this little screw you turn in, all right? So I got this long screwdriver, and I'm putting it in this jack to turn this screw, and you got to turn it a million times just to get the tire to raise like this much. My arm is dying. I'm using both arms. I'm trying to just screw the jack up to jack the car up, okay? We had jacks. Done. No. What they have now are these screw thingies that are horrible, okay? So, all right, so I break the lugs before I lift. Just letting you know. So I lift it. It's finally lifted. I take the lug nuts off, and the tire is like welded to the rotor. It is stuck on this rotor hard. Now it's on this rickety jack, this tiny little rickety jack. And I have an 8-pound bottle jack sitting there. But the problem is the bottle jack, which is sturdy, is like this big. For me to get it under the car, I would have had to screw more. and I didn't want to because it was such a pain screwing the jack up. So I realized this is a bad idea. I know it's a bad idea while I'm doing it. But in the instance where your old tire like sticks to your rotor, what you're supposed to do is one of two things, and I did neither of them. The easiest way is just kick the tire, not the rim. Kick the tire on one side, kick the tire on the other side with a little bit of force, but not enough to knock it off the jack. You don't want your car to fall off the jack. Well, I had these sandals on. So I'm like, I'm not kicking that tire. No way, I'm not kicking the tire. So another way, which is way harder, which I've never even attempted to do because it just sounds impossible, is to take a mallet and hit it from the inside out, just the tire, not the rim, just the tire. This is just, it's just stupid because you can't get the mallet behind the tire and hit it. My arm cannot put a mallet behind a tire and then hit it with enough force to unweld a tire. Maybe a man has more force and they can do it, but so I have a crowbar. I call it my raven rod, just so you know. I have my raven rod with me. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to kick this tire. Me and this raven rod have been through so much together. Here we go. So I take all my aggression and all my anger, and I start beating the tire on this rickety jack. with my raven rod on both sides, and boom, tire popped right off. Yep, yes it did. See, that's like, there are certain ways you're supposed to do things when you work on cars, and then there's ways that ladies do things when they work on cars. They gotta do it different ways. They gotta use 3 breaker bars, not 1. They got to use 3, and it works. When I tighten the lugs, I had a real long breaker bar because I needed to torque it to what? I'm picking a number. It's probably wrong. It's like 35 pounds of pressure or whatever. Well, I can't just do that right at the lug like you men can. I can't just take the wrench and just go, ooh, okay, that's tight. No. I have to go out real far and step on it with my foot. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they all decided to walk their dogs while I'm sitting on the ground trying to change this damn tire. Well, the old tire had a hole on the inside rim. Was frayed on the inside rim. And I didn't really know that, right? 95 foot-pounds, whatever. For me to get 95 foot-pounds, I cannot sit at the tire and torque that. I can't. So I have to go out. I mean, if you just take the bar and you can do it in a couple different ways. What I did was I had, my lug wrench was pretty long. And then I put this real long pipe on the end, which gave me, 4 feet. It was long. It was real long. And then I just stepped on it with my foot way over there. And I did it for all of them. So anyway, the old tire, I was pushing to get it back to my trunk. And to slow it down, I grabbed it with both hands, and just sort of pressed in. And the steel belts just sliced right into my hand, just because they were sticking out where they shredded. And I was worried because then it turned black and blue the whole way around and swelled. And I thought, oh no, if this is infected, I'm screwed because I don't have health insurance. I can't go get antibiotics. And I worked that night, and I'm like scrubbing my hand all night long, with a brush constantly. And it kept the wound open, but it kept it very, very, very clean. I did not want to get it infected. And the black and blue went away, and it's better now. So, but at least I got another new tire. My tire, I guess it didn't go flat a couple months ago. Fozzie just made me change it because there was a big bubble in it, which is a good idea. He was right. So I did change that 2 months ago, I think. So now I have 2 new tires on my car. Now my 2 tires are double the price of my entire car put together. Because tires are freaking expensive. They're worse than eggs. Like, I could have gotten 2 eggs for the price of this one tire. But, yeah. So, no, I'm not asking him to help me. I want to make sure it's done right. It's definitely, Josh, you don't even know how much better it is. Because even if I had a man here, as soon as the tire was welded to the rotor, I would have had to fix it anyway. He would have been like, oh, no. It's welded to the rotor. Now what are we going to do? Damn tire's welded to the rotor. Never going to get this off. We're going to need, oh, God, that spray. Not WD-40, not Loctite, the spray. God, it's really popular. It's a really popular name, and I can't get it. Rust, can't remember. We're going to need this spray. We're going to need these tools. We're going to need an air socket or... No. Just take a raven rod to it. And some aggression. But, yep. Okay, so we're going to keep going. I'm sorry. Is that what it is? I can't remember. I used to work at a printing press for many years. I was an assistant pressman. Rust-Oleum. Thank you, Kelly. And I was constantly dealing with screws that I could not, nuts that I could not. I just couldn't break them because they were all rusted and welded there. So I used all kinds of sprays and stuff. All right. I'm wondering if I should keep going or not, because it's been 2 hours, but it's 2 minutes short. I think we're good. Oh God, having a man around would have been a nightmare. Josh, you just triggered me. My car would still be out there with a flat. Yeah. You know what, guys? I changed my mind. This is May 31st, part 3. We only have 12 minutes and we're at 1.25. I'm getting us to June today. We're going to June today. I can't help it. I got to get to the defense.
Clip it up here.
I'm so excited.
All right, why don't you flip Mr. Yamauchi's chart over.
I'll flip you, Judge. Oh, sorry. He didn't mean that.
Or maybe what I could try to do is just...
Do you want to bring this in the center, so it's at least in the center of the...
Yes, thank you very much, Ron. Oh, gosh.
And its first corollary.
Now, you have that in front of you, do you not?
If it's...
Yes, I do.
Okay. So this
I
is
know,
the
I'm just
comparison
wasting
of
time
this-
now. If it is wear and tear item on your vehicle, you should definitely know how to replace it. You have to replace your wiper blades, your headlights, your tires. Okay. I guess you don't have to change your own brakes. Although with a couple C-clamps you can. If it's wear and tear, you should know how to replace it. You just should. Change your oil. You should be able to change your spark plugs. You just should. If you don't know how to, it'll take exactly 2 days to learn all of it, total. So just go learn now. You're driving now. It's not too late. Yep, brake lights, they're so easy. Lights are so easy. You just pop them in, you just turn, but don't touch the bulbs with your fingers. Don't even think about it. Don't get your oil all over the bulbs. And wiper blades, you should know how many inches you need. That's important. And then that's how easy it is. It really is. Although, okay, me and my son just changed the wiper blades in my car about 8 months ago. I did the driver's side because that's the most important side. He did the passenger side. We did it together at the same time. Okay? We went to the auto store. We did it in the parking lot of the auto store. Like, let's just do it. So I'm driving down the road. And his wiper blade flies off while it was raining. Oh, Jesus. No, I didn't recover it. No, I had to go buy another wiper blade. And then I put it on. Although I should have made him put it on and do it right. And I should have. And yesterday, I was driving home from work and I got rear-ended. But this is the good part about my car. Ready? I got rear-ended by this poor guy in a piece of crap. And I'm driving a piece of crap. No harm, no foul. My license plate has a little dent in it. I don't care. I pulled over. I got out of the car. And unfortunately, Tiffany was with me, and she's really scared of car accidents. I don't know why. I love cars. I love driving. She hates it. She hates it. And just her being in the car when I get slammed is probably the worst person to have in the car. But she's no one got hurt. So we pull over. I get out of the car. I look at my bumper. It's okay. It's fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. And this guy is like, oh my God, are you guys okay? And I just went over. I said, I gave him a big hug. I said, listen, my car's fine. I'm going to go home now. Are you hurt? He said, no. I said, okay. Have a good day. And I left. And now I have a bent license plate, which adds character, which makes my car decorative. And I can just get a mallet and unbend it. But it's not like it's bent in half. It just has a dent in it. But, freaking cars. I told my daughter, that's what bumpers are for. They're bumping. That's what they're built for.
Watch DNA samples to 117, the rear gate sample.
Yes, that's the comparison.
And the rear gate sample, number 117, has 4 times as much DNA on a basis of concentration, on a basis of nanograms to milligrams, as item number 6.
Yes,
And that's item number 6 is one of those blood drops found at
Rockingham.
And it has 27 times as much DNA as 47, one of the Bundy blood drops.
Yes, and again, keep in mind that on 117, 115, and 116, that's a yield gel comparison against the slot blots now on 47, 48, 49, 50, and 52.
And as far as 48 is concerned, another Bundy blood drop, it has 45 times as much DNA.
Yes,
And as far as number 49 is concerned, it has 270 times as much DNA.
yes,
And as far as number 50, another blood drop, it has 51 times as much DNA.
yes,
And as far as number 52 is concerned, it has 11 times as much DNA.
yes.
We need to actually flip that over. Is that possible? Because that's Mr. Yamauchi's diagram, if you read
We
it.
actually have it on Scotch tape, and then we'll pull it off. Oh, pull it.
Because you're actually on another exhibit. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Now, with respect to 115 and 116, same comparison. 115 and 116 have about 2 times as much DNA as number 6.
Yes,
15 times as much DNA as number 47, a Bundy blood drop.
yes,
22 times as much
I want to
DNA
see.
as
I want to
48.
see.
yes,
135 times as much DNA as 49.
yes,
25 times as much DNA as 50.
yes,
And 6 times as much
Oh,
DNA
the
as
jury.
Yes.
Oh, the poor jury.
Mr. Harris?
I know.
All right, why don't you use the time that's left?
205/50 R17. That's my tire. I can
Now,
just go get a
Mr.
tire.
Harmon asked you today,
Wear and tear. You
and
gotta know it.
last time you were here, a whole series of hypotheticals based on assumptions about how Dennis Fung and Andrea Mazzola handled samples when they collected them when they put them in plastic bags, and they put them into test tubes, when they took them out
How
of
do you
test
pronounce
tubes
that, though?
after they were
Zzz.
allegedly dry, and
Zzz.
scraped them out of test tubes. You recall those?
Yes.
And he asked you, in regard to that set of activities, when he was asking you these hypothetical questions, to assume that Andrea Mazzola and Dennis Fung systematically alternated the substrate controls and the specimens when they handled the samples.
Yes.
And I think on redirect examination last time, you actually characterized that as a critical assumption as far as your answers to these hypotheticals.
I don't recall using that exact word, and I do recall remarking on something being important. I'm not sure it was that specific item, but yes, I think that is important.
Thank you. And Mr. Harmon added to the hypothetical today many assumptions about what Mr. Yamauchi did and did not do when he handled the samples.
Yes.
Now, did you ever review Mr. Yamauchi's notes to verify whether or not he performed the activities in question in accordance with the assumptions that were given to you in the hypothetical questions Mr. Harmon asked you?
No, I did not review them with that in mind.
Do you know, Mr. Sims, whether or not the Los Angeles Police Department DNA laboratory has a contamination problem that arises from the way they handle samples during the extraction process?
Calls for speculation, no foundation, hearsay.
Sustained.
Mr. Sims, can you open a reference tube without a Vacutainer reference tube with a purple top, without getting blood on your gloves through a chem wipe?
I suppose I'm thinking now when I do that, I frequently will double up or maybe even triple up the chem wipe, and that tends to get most of it, but it wouldn't be unusual for some of that blood to get through the chem wipe
It has happened.
onto the glove.
That's a reason to be careful.
Yes, yes.
Now, incidentally, Your Honor, I think we have here Exhibit 97, which is picture of the back gate. Oh, you can't. Correct, I'm sorry. Can I just,
Yes.
for the sake of time?
Why don't you hold it with two hands so it's flat?
Thank you very much.
There you go. One of your exhibits, counsel. It's tough when we have to go back to the old ways.
That was certainly.
Oh my God, he doesn't have gloves on touching those exhibits.
When you get blood on your gloves when you're handling samples, Mr. Sims, do you always know it?
Or will.
In other words, could there be like a very fine drop that you wouldn't see?
Does that happen to you?
Well, I would change my gloves is the way I would answer that. I would automatically change my gloves when handling that kind of sample.
So by routinely and systematically changing or washing your gloves, you can avoid that problem.
Well, yes, that's a good way to avoid that altogether.
Hi, Josh.
Now, you were asked some questions about Dr. Blake being a stranger or guest in your laboratory on redirect the last time you were here.
I would describe him as a
If I
guest.
had a vanity plate, it would be inappropriate.
But questions you were asked.
100%.
Now, Dr. Blake has been a friend of yours for 20 years, has he not?
Maybe a little longer, more like 22 now.
At one point, when you were a student at Berkeley, he taught you as a teaching assistant.
Yes, he did.
He asked you to pose for pictures here indicating how you had handled samples during the course of your examination.
Yes.
You worked together late in the evening with him.
Yes.
You worked on weekends.
Yes.
In an effort to assist you in getting this work done, both of you worked around the soccer schedules of each other's children.
I believe that's true.
Dr. Blake works and lives in the Bay Area.
Yes, he does.
It's fair to say you're good friends and colleagues.
Yes.
Now, when he was in your laboratory, he documented by photographs the evidence as you received it.
Yes.
He made documentations of the evidence before you altered it or cut it.
Yes.
And he came back to document the strips, D1, DQ alpha strips, or RFLP order rads, or D1 S80 strips after the test results have been done.
Excuse me, Mr. Check, forgive me for interrupting you. Do you have much more?
Yeah, abso-freaking-lutely, Judge. Abso-freaking-lutely. What a stupid question.
I don't know what the scheduling problems are. I'm
Well, schedule
close.
probably- We have visitation for the jurors this afternoon scheduled, and we already have a number of their visitors
Oh,
waiting.
oh, well, then I don't want to interfere with that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wait, what does that mean?
Okay. Mr.
No.
Sims, I guess we'll see you tomorrow morning,
Oh,
8:45.
that's what that means.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the afternoon session. I was trying to finish, but a little slow here.
no.
Please remember all of my admonitions, too. You don't discuss the case amongst
Shut
yourselves.
up.
Don't form any
Shut up.
opinions
I don't
about
want
the
to
case.
hear your voice anymore. Mm. So we made it to the end of May 31st, but we're not at the end. We still have more to go. We have more to go tomorrow, and Kelly won't be here. Poor Kelly's going to miss it. Everybody cry for her. She's not going to hear about this sock tomorrow. Not OJ. We're done with May. All right, I'm just going to let it flip over, but we're
Don't
done.
conduct any
We're done
deliberations
with
till the
May.
matter has been submitted to you. Do not allow anybody to communicate with you with regard to the
There we go.
and undergoing recross-examination.
We're in June. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any day now, the defense will get their turn, which blows my mind because anyway, it doesn't matter. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. All right, guys. I'll see you. I might see you. Okay, listen. I want to move my stuff upstairs. To do that, I have to do some stuff. But I also have a members only that I might save for tomorrow, actually, because I might save it for tomorrow because it's a little long. It might be a couple hours long. And it's a members only because it's triggering for a lot of people. Definitely, Tona, don't watch tomorrow. Don't. But it's really good. So, I don't know. You know what? I'll see you in American courts later. We're going to force him to do a live stream later. Bye, guys. Have a great night. See ya.